Chapter 25. Taylor slowly opened the ballroom door and stepped inside. The room was packed with people. A woman was speaking from the long table on the stage. That must have been Cassandra Fairchild, the woman Garth wanted to kill. Taylor looked around at the backs of everyone's heads. She wasn't sure how she could find Garth in time. There had to be 100 people here. She made her way down the center aisle, looking left and right. A few people looked at her as she passed, but seemed not to notice her anxiousness. She was nearly to the stage when she saw Garth. He was watching Fairchild with intense interest. He then looked at Taylor for a split second before looking back to the stage. Then he snapped back to Taylor. His eyes grew wide in shock. Taylor made her way toward him, trying to look unworried and happy. She didn't want him to know she was on to him. She sat next to him.
"Hey, Bunny,"
she said quietly, her voice shaking only slightly. "Hey," he said.
"I figured I'd check out the panel,"
she lied.
"Did I miss anything good?"
Cassandra Fairchild just announced she's rebooting Bad Logic.
"Is that a good thing?"
"Not for me."
"Why not?"
"Because it won't bring my mom back." Taylor stared at the stage, at the woman who was the target of Garth's wrath. She was afraid if she looked at Garth, he would know something was wrong. She patted her pockets, pretending to look for something.
"Can I borrow your phone?"
she asked him.
"I need to look up something."
Dante had told her that Panzer held up something that might have been a detonator. Garth stared at her for a moment. "My phone isn't working right now." She could tell he was lying, but she didn't know how to call him on it.
"That sucks."
"I think you should leave," he said suddenly.
"Why? This panel seems cool."
"Where's Scout?" Taylor hadn't expected that question.
"I don't know. Why?"
"I know why you're here," he said. "I won't let you stop me, Taylor." Duke lay on his back, clutching his left arm. Scout leaned over him, massaging his chest. Her face was sweating nearly as much as his.
"What do I do?"
she asked, worried.
"Get help."
He barely managed to say that much. Scout looked at the door and saw Panzer sprawled in front of it, unconscious. She'd barely managed to pick up the sledgehammer and doubted she could move him. Blood dripped from his mouth and nose, and his breathing was heavy. She hoped he died.
"Scout,"
Duke said, grabbing her hands in his.
"I think I'm about to die." "No, you're not. Just take steady breaths." "My heart feels like it's going to explode." "It's not. Panzer started to do something to you, but I stopped him. You'll be fine."
She wiped tears from her eyes. Duke's face was so red and sweaty. She was surprised he was still alive.
"I'm sorry about everything," he said. "What are you talking about?" "Everything that happened last year was my fault." "No, it wasn't, Duke. Jaren and Ricky were crazy. It was only a matter of time before they snapped. I brought you here. You almost died because of me."
She shook her head.
"I brought myself here. Twice."
She laughed, thinking about the trip back to Fort Worth just to work a shift.
"This isn't your fault. Do you hear me? Besides, if we hadn't come, no one would have known about the bomb and hundreds of people would have died. They still might."
Those words chilled Scout. It did no good to know about the bomb if she couldn't warn anybody. She was still trapped in this construction area, and, for all she knew, the bomb was still set to go off in the ballroom.
"Go,"
Duke said breathlessly.
What? Stop the bomb. What about you? I'll be all right.
He sounded a little better. His face slowly returned to normal and his breathing slowed.
I'm not going anywhere without you,
Scout said. She waited another minute as Duke's breathing returned to normal. He then sat up and took a deep breath.
Fuck me sideways,
he said, rubbing his chest.
That really hurt. I'll bet.
Scout helped him to his feet.
Now you can help me move that giant piece of shit.
She pointed at Panzer.